Yeah.
All right, what's up, everybody? It's Jeff Ward here, your host for Who's Slammin'. Today we're at the Blue Note in Columbia, Missouri. We have with us today Mr. Jack Ryan of the Marcus King Band. Holy moly. Jack, so pleased to meet you. Thanks for taking the time.
Of course.
Appreciate it so much. Been a fan of yours for a long time and the band. You guys were on my radar back around 2017, 2018. Just thrilled. This is awesome, man. So thanks again. So for those of you that don't know, Jack's obviously the drummer of the Marcus King Band. How did you get started playing drums? Was there a thing that happened, a place that you went, a sound that you heard, anything like that you were like, man, like that, like what are these drums? And
No, I just remember listening to a lot of classic rock when I was a little kid. My mom, I remember sitting in a car seat listening to Hendrix with my mom and, Zeppelin and things like that. And when I got to be about 8 years old, I started playing piano, and I really liked that, but no one was really teaching me any of that kind of music on piano. And when I turned 11, I got a set of drums for Christmas because I was like, I really want to play drums, mostly because I wanted to play that music. And there's not really like classical music you can learn on the drum set. So I was immediately, started learning that kind of music and whatever when I was taking lessons, and just first, so yeah, about 11 years old, and just immediately fell in love with it. But yeah, a buddy of mine, his dad, they had a local band, and I remember watching them play a lot too as a kid, and definitely getting inspired by that.
So were they a rock band? Were they like, what kind
Yeah.
of music were they playing that
Yeah,
really
it
like
was-
glued you into that?
It was
thing.
it was classic rock covers, kind of similar stuff. It was called the Deadly Crank Dogs.
Deadly Crank Dogs.
Yeah, it was my
Nice.
buddy Daniel, his dad's band, and but yeah, I remember watching them play, every once in a while, and other, yeah, definitely seeing people play live inspired me a lot as a kid. Just local
Awesome.
music.
So that's awesome. That's one of my favorite things always to hear is like, growing up around the local scene and being inspired by local guys. It's always, there's always those names that, are national recognizable names, but it's always so cool to hear somebody.
Yeah, seeing it in person definitely had more of an impact. I would say as much of an impact as any like records or any of that had on me. Seeing the real thing, hearing
Live
it through
music.
PA, yeah, all that kind of stuff really, really spoke to me.
Very cool. So doing a little bit of research on you, I seen, did you study under Jeff, Mr. Sipe?
Yeah,
And so tell us a little bit about like how that came to pass and how that unfolded.
absolutely. So when I moved to Greenville, there's a fella that lives there that's a percussionist who's absolutely incredible, and he knows all kinds of stuff about world percussion. But his name's also Jeff Holland. He was the first person that told me about Jeff Sipe years and years ago, like more than a decade ago at this point, and just watched videos and really enjoyed his playing. And I didn't realize how accessible he was at that time. And so fast forward a couple years when I started playing with Marcus eventually met him and got to know him and jammed with him and became friends with him. And one day we went and watched his trio, and he introduced me to Jeff, and I started taking lessons with him shortly after. And I would say like 2014 and 15, those 2 years, I went a good bit. And then since then, it's been, at most like a few times a year or whatever, but I still go see him, whenever I
amazing.
can. But
Yeah.
yeah, anytime I need like some inspiration or whatever, he just, he kicks my ass.
He's pretty remarkable.
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah.
He's so much fun. His trio played my wedding a few weeks
He
ago.
recently did get
Yeah.
married. Congratulations.
A little over a month
Newlywed
ago.
over here. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And but yeah, he brought his trio down and played. It was really fun. It was very funny because like Katie's family and a lot of her side was non-musician people, so they really enjoyed it. But they definitely were like wanting to dance and all that. And I was,
We're just gonna.
we're gonna rock out. It was really badass.
That's
And
awesome.
It was.
I love that.
Yeah.
So awesome. Tell us a little bit how you and Marcus first got intertwined
Yeah.
and how
So
that kind of unfolded.
also once again that same fellow Jeff Holland
Okay.
hanging out. So basically when I graduated high school, I went straight to college and did 2 semesters and just didn't really do well and wasn't really clicking, whatever. And so decided not to go back, and I got a job in Greenville, and I met Jeff. So he's a percussionist. He does these programs and stuff for elementary schools and different people. Like you can hire him. He'll come do like a private event. It's like a team building exercise. So he showed up and did said exercises at the elementary school where my mom works. And that was how I met him. And so he basically was like, move to Greenville, well, I'll start, introducing you to people. You'll start playing gigs and whatever. You're good enough to like play shitty bar gigs or whatever. Like, come on, don't like, I was trying to move to Asheville, North Carolina, or like somewhere else. And he was like, look, these places are cool and all, but a lot of that's like, you kind of missed the boat or whatever on that. Just come to Greenville. And eventually playing with him and whatever, after a few weeks or months hanging out with him, he introduced me to Marcus. And we met outside of Chicora Alley, which is a bar that's still there.
Cool.
And Marcus doesn't remember meeting me the first time, but then months later played a gig that I was on with the band, and then Marcus's band was also on, and he heard me play. And then we started hanging out like a lot after that. And he like would come over and crash at my house almost, every night or whatever. Like, he dropped out of school shortly after that, and we started, hitting the road.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it happened pretty quick.
And you guys are about the same age, right? Like,
I'm 3 years older than Marcus.
Yeah,
So.
because the first time I remember going to one of your shows, you guys were over in St. Louis, and it was at Del Mar Hall, and like that was 2018. And at the time, I think everything I was reading up on Marcus and you guys, like he was still in his early 20s.
Yeah, he would have been like 21,
And, like,
22.
Just fell in love with the band, man. Like you guys are the cream of the crop to me, dude. It's
Thank
really,
you.
really cool.
Yeah.
So influences wise, we talked a little bit about like, how you got started. Who's on your radar, like currently that you see live, whether it's a band, whether it's, another drummer that you just think they're out there like just destroying, like.
So I was on Jam Cruise this year and saw Butcher Brown do like the big band thing where they brought like every horn player that was on the boat up and do that thing. That was probably one of the coolest musical things I've seen in a long time.
Cool.
Corey Fondell is monster. Such a good drummer, incredible feel. And then also on the boat that during one of Lettuce's sets, Deitch was just on another planet, and I've never seen him play that fast or that hard or
So
whatever.
good.
Oh, and I've seen him play a bunch of times, and this was just it was seriously, it was on another level. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And Nikki was on there. Nikki Glaspie is always just absolutely insane. I got to see Medeski, Martin, and Wood a few years ago. That's
Nice.
easily the most fun I've ever had watching anyone play music, like maybe ever. Got to see Herlin Riley, the New Orleans drummer, at Jazz Fest, and that was one of the like most surprising. Not that I just didn't know who he was; I hadn't really heard, and was just watching and was like, "Yo, this guy's fucking awesome!" Like, it was so much fun. He is so good. And then I don't know. There's a lot. I mean, there's just so many.
I know,
Got
it's
to
hard
see. This was last summer, but got to see Lewis Cole with the Metropole Orchestra. Knower, his band. That was. Doing the full orchestra. That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen too.
Nice.
But yeah, I've been trying to really make a point lately to go out and watch more people play, whether at a festival or whether there's an after party going at like a dive bar down the street after we finish playing.
Yeah.
But I've just been trying to get that love for music back and
Yeah.
try and like it is my job and it'll always be my job. That's fine, but I want to still have that love for it like I did before it was my job.
Yeah.
And
It could be tough. It's
it's
probably pretty
really tough.
grueling,
It's really
being on
tough.
the road
When
and
you-
still trying to catch,
when you
this
spend
and
almost
that and-
200 days a year traveling or whatever,
Yeah.
it gets really tough.
you guys have been grinding.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I've really been trying to find that love, and really incredible drummers always make it very easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of how busy you guys have been, like you guys have played such cool venues and like festivals and stuff all around the world, really. Do you have like, if you had to nail down like the top 3, either venues or live performance experiences of your own, what's that list look like? Tough, right?
Man, this just one's off the top of my head recently. We did 4th of July in Sun Valley, Idaho, and that was like that was the coolest gig. The resort they put us up at was just insane. They're like, that was a really, 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 like, I wish we could do every 4th of July in Sun Valley. That gig was awesome.
Yeah.
Trying to think. I mean,
It's tough, right?
it is tough. No, there's a lot of really fun ones. Anywhere where you're super close to the beach is always fun. We played Janus Landing recently, or Janus Live, whatever it's called down there in St. Pete. That's a really fun gig. We played a casino. I think it was the one that was in St. Charles, Louisiana, Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Okay.
And the crowd there, for whatever reason, it sounded like a football game. Like they were screaming.
They brought the energy, yeah.
Yeah, and that level doesn't happen too often. That was
Yeah.
really fun.
It's probably a lot better. It's always a lot better
Oh,
on
yeah.
stage if the people are giving it back to you.
Yeah, it's
You know.
and like there was a sit down crowd too. So usually when you see all those chairs, you're like,
I find those gigs so weird.
Yeah, but
But,
they
I
were
mean,
they were absolutely insane. It was
Brother.
really fun. Yeah,
That's awesome.
and then places like that. Play the Beacon Theater a bunch of times. That's always really fun.
Cool.
Up there in New York. Anytime playing near home is really fun. Playing in Greenville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about gear. So always been a pasty cymbal guy.
Pisces is a very recent thing for me.
Okay.
I got hooked up with them this year, like a few months ago, and I'd just been doing research, and that was like Bonham played those, Nick Mason from Pink Floyd played those, Ian Pace from Deep Purple played those. Like they have a very deep history in rock and roll, and the kind of music that Marcus plays. I mean, I really like most of the new cymbal companies that make great stuff. I was just very excited, and what I really like about Pisces, probably my favorite things, when you find a cymbal that you really like, let's say it's whatever Crash and Lord, in this case, like a whole set. If something happens to those, if I lose them, if something breaks, that when you pull out whatever that 20-inch Crash off of the rack in whatever store, wherever, they all sound exactly the same. So if you find your sound, if you have it, and something happens, you can get it back immediately. Whereas like Zildjian or Sabian or some of those that are hand hammered, you find one and you're like, oh my God, this is the most amazing cymbal ever. Good luck finding another one that sounds even close.
Even the same series, same size.
Exactly. Same
so,
everything. And it'll still be, if you put them side by side, it'll be.
So you like the consistency from
the
cymbal
consistency for touring all the time and for playing really big live shows. Yeah, the consistency is absolutely. That's
Awesome.
definitely what you want for recording. And if you were just playing in your basement or whatever, okay, yeah, I can understand the other side. If you're not gonna, go through cymbals every couple of years, of course. But if you're, really, anyway, with the Formula 602s, I've found, something that was like, oh my God, like they cut, they sound really good. They're, they're loud.
Yeah.
So I was like, no brainer.
And the Noble and Cooley tubs, like how long have you been with those guys, and what kind of pushed you that way?
So the Noble and Cooley story is really funny. A buddy of ours that helped fund the very first album, Soul Insight, he worked for a company. It's like medical devices, like has nothing to do with music. And the CEO of that company, right? So our buddy's name is Bill. So Bill's boss was buying into Noble and Cooley to like help them from going out of business. This was like probably 2013, 2014.
Okay.
And Bill is a very persistent man and basically just wore him down. Because this is at that time, like we were hardly doing anything. We had hardly left Greenville. Obviously there was lots of potential and we recorded, but it just wasn't like it was now or whatever. Just the name wasn't there. And so Bill, purely just out of persistence, wore him down. And he was finally like, all right, I'll come see the band. I'll bring the snare drum, whatever. And so I got a snare drum from them before Marcus actually got his first guitar from anyone or whatever.
That's cool.
Really funny, fun fact. But they've been really good to me, and those drums sound absolutely insane. And they require some maintenance, but it's totally worth it. And I've recently switched kits, so for a long time recently I played bigger bass drum in a different series and a deeper snare drum too. So I recently went to a 5x14.
Okay.
It used to be a 7, and then it's a 22-inch bass drum where it used to be a 24. And I'm really, really falling in love with the smaller sizes.
Yeah, the one time I've seen you guys live before, the drums always sounded just stellar, and all the albums that I like to listen to of you guys, like the Noble and Cooley's and the cymbals, the basses, they complement each other so well. That bell cuts when you're on it, man. I just dig it so much. So
Yeah,
you've got the formula down there.
thank you.
So I love it.
Took me a long time to pick it out.
Well, that's how it goes, right? It takes
Yeah.
time. You try different things, and
Yeah.
whatever works for you. Really, man, that's all I got.
All right.
Just thank you again, man,
Of course.
for taking your time. Jack Ryan, Marcus King Band. Catch him on tour in your neck of the woods. I'll leave the link down below in the comments. Peace.